we're ready for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to the November 14th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. My name is Shelley Bueller, and I have the privilege of serving as chair of the commission alongside Commissioner Kevin Cook and Commissioner Bob Archer.
Good morning.
And I know for those of you way back in the room, these microphones don't project out there, so I will try to speak louder. I know I speak softly. Madam Clerk, first item, please.
First item today is item 3, consent agenda.
Are there questions on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
So motion by Commissioner Archer,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Cook to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Madam Chair, this morning we have one set of vouchers dated November 13th, 2013, and the total amount of $1,405,780.70. I've reviewed the vouchers, have no questions, and make a motion to approve as presented.
I will second.
Thank you. There is a motion by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
There are no correction orders today. Item B, Treasurer, number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2013-173, authorizing the County Treasurer to reissue a check to Elizabeth S. Phillips and Terry W. Haddon.
Good morning, Commissioners. Larry Moss, Shawnee County Treasurer. This is a resolution to reissue a check. This check falls outside of the normal stale check policy because it's part of the West Lawn settlement. It's one of 166 checks that you canceled last March
Okay.
that are still outstanding from that settlement. We've been asked by the County Counsel's Office to reissue this check. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Are there questions on this item?
Madam Chair, I'd move to reissue the check.
Okay, there's a
Your motion should include your waiving the requirements of the stale check resolution.
And I would waive the requirements of the stale check resolution.
It's 2011-87 is the resolution number.
There's a motion by Commissioner Cook.
Are we ready for a second yet?
Yes, I believe so.
We are. I'll second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Item C, Bond Council, number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2013-174, authorizing Shawnee County to draw on an irrevocable standby letter of credit due to unpaid special assessments for sewer and street improvements in the Shiloh Ridge Estate Subdivision Special Benefit Districts.
Good morning. Back in 2006, the Denison State Bank posted a letter of credit to act as the financial security that's required under the county code for special benefit district improvements. That the letter of credit has been renewed annually. They sent the county a letter October 30 indicating that the letter of credit was not going to be renewed effective November the 27th of this year. There's unpaid specials in the Shiloh Ridge Benefit District, which have a total balance to date of $137,439.32, and another amount of $45,833.36 is coming due December 20th this year.
Thank you.
And,
You got one?
from talking this, having a conversation with Rich and Cindy, it was kind of the consensus amongst the three of us that we would demand the bank would do a draw demand on the letter of credit to the bank in order to get the unpaid specials that are due from the years 10, 11, and 12, so as to reduce the unpaids, and if they choose not to renew it, then we'll just have to deal with that in the future. This resolution authorizes Rich's office, myself, and Cindy to work together to effectuate the demand draw. And if they refuse, then we'll just come back and discuss what other options we have.
Thank you, Bob. Are there questions on this item?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
It's a motion by Commissioner Archer,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Item C2, consider approval of resolution number 2013-175, authorizing the execution and delivery of a partial release and modification of right-of-way with West Star Energy, Inc. on property leased by Midland Care Connections, Inc.
In 2013, in May of this year, we refunded and refinanced Midland's outstanding debt with some industrial revenue bonds. Those bonds are special obligations of Midland and not the county. As a result of the structure of the IOD by statute, the fee sits in the name of the county, and the county's leased the land and the improvements back to Midland. There's a reconfiguration of an easement and right-of-way by West Star Energy, to which they need our consent. The condemnation award of about $23,000 belongs to the possessory tenant, which is Midland. This authorizes the execution of a modification of the easement and a direction to West Star to directly pay the condemnation award to Midland.
Thank you, Bob. I'll move to adopt the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item C3, consider approval of resolution number 2013-176, authorizing the issuance of Series 2013 revenue bonds in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $26 million, United Methodist Homes, Inc., and the execution of an indenture of trust with UMB Bank and a lease agreement with United Methodist Homes, Inc.
We need to open and have a public hearing first.
Okay. At this time, I'll open the public hearing.
All right. Aldersgate is owned and operated by United Methodist Homes. It's a continual care community out west of Lake Sherwood area, south of 29th Street. They've asked us to issue revenue bonds not to exceed $26 million. About $4 million of the proceeds will go for new money improvements. They're going to convert some existing independent living units to assisted living units. They're going to upgrade some of the assisted living units. They're going to construct a clinic. And depending upon costs, I understand that they would like to also upgrade and improve some of the HVA systems for energy efficiencies. About $20 million, or the remainder of the money, $17.5 million, will be used to refund and refinance existing prior bonds to reduce their interest costs.
Do we have anyone from United Methodist Homes here in the
No,
audience?
I told Bree I didn't think that would be necessary since we
Okay.
have another meeting today also.
Okay. All right. Anyone want to speak on this item?
Bob,
Commissioner Archer.
would you please clarify Shawnee County's role in
Sure.
the issuance of these bonds?
Yeah,
I think there's some misconception.
The tax code
public.
permits 501c3 organizations to borrow at tax exempt rates, provided the bonds and the securities are issued by a municipality. And then it becomes a special obligation of the municipality. Under our state statutes, this is a special limited obligation of the county, payable only and solely through the rentals received by the trustee from the tenant, in this case, United Methodist Homes. Under KSA 12-1744E, these bonds are not payable in any manner by taxation, and you are prohibited from levying a tax in any manner to pay these bonds. This is solely a conduit financing for the 501c3 entity.
And what would happen if there was a default on the bonds?
The trustee would take possession of the property
Okay.
under the indenture and the lease, and try and effectuate either a resale of the property or rehabilitate the property. I've gotten involved in only 2 defaults of IRBs in the last 30 years. Both of those were commercial properties, and basically it was like ended up with a foreclosure. The investors ended up with the property, and when the market came back, they sold it.
Okay. But under no circumstances would any taxpayer in Shawnee County have to make up for anything in this issue?
That is correct. And
Okay.
I can't speak to the creditworthiness of United Methodist Homes, but they have found a group of banks led by Midcalf Bank and Overland Park. Actually, I think their offices are in the Missouri side, to make the loan.
Thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I know from speaking with Mr. Perry before the meeting started, I would like to note that these investments, these improvements that are happening with Aldersgate, these are properties that are not on our tax rolls. These are monies that do not pay property taxes. So Shawnee County does not directly benefit from the improvements to the real estate. However, in speaking with Mr. Perry, we have 300+ employees at Aldersgate that are employed. This financing helps ensure their positions, their employment, which does have a financial impact on Shawnee County.
And for the record, in their application, they also, and I can't remember how many, but they have regular relationships with well over 100 vendors in the county.
Good point.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Anything else?
And that's it.
At this time, I'll move to close the
Need to
public
close.
hearing. Thank you for the reminder, Mr. Perry. I'll move to close the public hearing and adopt the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second. Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Item D, District Court number 1, consider approval to purchase workstations for the court's IT department in an amount of $14,348.95.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kathy
Morning.
Linhart with Court Administration. This represents the final phase of our remodeling of our IT department. Well, I call it remodeling, but really bringing it up to standard. It included the installation of a cooling unit that's working fabulously and apparently will save a lot of energy in the process. A raised floor for the servers in there, solid doors that have security with cameras for the hallway, so that makes the area more secure. And currently they're finishing off taking a window out of an interior wall so that it makes the server room secure. So these cubicles will finish the project and will be done at last. Any questions about them?
Thank you, Kathy.
It is a state contract.
Okay. Are there questions?
Yeah. Madam Chair, I would go back to, by ordinance and by law, once the court's budget is approved, the court can spend the money in any way, shape, or form. The county commission does not have the ability to deny the expenditure. So I appreciate the court keeping us involved and keeping us informed, but this is more of a matter of routine than it is the ability to deny the purchase.
Thank you.
So I'd move to approve.
So motion to approve by Commissioner Cook.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Item E, Information Technology. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C 530-2013 with Fishnet Security for annual maintenance of the firewall software in an amount of $25,207.28.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat O'Blainer with the Information Technology Department.
Morning, Pat.
This is the annual renewal for the security software that we use on our firewalls, and this is what provides us with the ability to call for support when we run into problems that we can't handle on our own. It covers the firewall software, the firewall hardware, and also the licenses that we use for full disk encryption on all the laptops that we distribute throughout the county. We make sure that we put that on all of those machines so that if one is lost or stolen, that the contents of those hard drives can't be read by anybody. So this is the annual maintenance that supports all of those products. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
What if we didn't have this, Pat?
We would be at much greater risk of infection or invasion from outside malicious actors. It's a primary defense layer that we put into place to separate us from the bad guys. It's one of many layers that we have, but without it, we would be at the mercy of a lot of bad actors.
Agree.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Olander, over the past week or two, we've heard news of school districts that have been hacked, government bodies that have been at risk for information being attacked or disseminated. This is what that security would protect from, or is?
This is one layer protecting us against those sorts of attacks. The attacks that you're referring to use a lot of different vectors to infiltrate organizations. Many of them rely on people opening attachments to emails that carry a payload that is launched and then talks to servers on the internet that then downloads some malicious software. The firewalls that we have in place, we currently have programmed to block that traffic, but that that's a moving target. We have to keep up with it on a regular basis. Other attacks are SQL injection attacks that are directed against websites, and we'll do some tinkering with the internal mechanisms that are set up in websites, find ways of injecting code into text blocks that are set up on websites. Again, so far we've been protected against those. I'm not saying we're perfect. Someday we may fall prey to the same sorts of attacks, but so far we've been able to thwart all of them that have been launched against us.
And there have been attacks thwarted, I don't want to get into all of the technicals, but.
Yes, if you'd like to come up and watch the firewall logs cycling, you'll see bang, bang, bang all day long, people knocking at the door trying to get in and testing our defenses. So, yeah, it's a continuous and concerted effort all the time, all day long, day, night, evenings, weekends, holidays. Constant barrage.
I'll move to adopt the contract, or approve the contract.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item F, Health Agency. Number 1, consider approval to reclassify a registered nurse informaticist to a nurse informaticist team leader position in the Community Health Center at a total annual salary, including benefits, of $55,948.04. I hate that position, by the way.
Cindy, you did a great job.
Oh, well, goodness,
Alice Weingartner, Shawnee County Health Agency. This position would be serving in the capacity of a health services team leader in the Community Health Center, and we are looking to reclassify a position that is already funded. With this position, we would be adding supervisory responsibilities, and one of the main reasons we look to put this position in place is to address the span of control needs within the Community Health Center. This position would primarily also serve as a supervisor at our California clinic location and oversee the day-to-day operations at that facility, as well as working with the management team and ensuring any workflow improvements, process changes, quality improvement activities are implemented accordingly. Another significant function of this position will be really becoming that expert on our EMR from the clinical component of it, and working with staff and training and ongoing training as we continue to use our electronic medical record. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
And Alice, you'll be able to do this for 13-14 budget, even with the reductions, correct? You'll still be able
Yes,
to
it
do
is a
this.
funded position.
Okay. Questions?
Just two, and first is, last week we had reclassification of several positions. Why was this not part of that reclassification process? Why are we taking it up this week as opposed to last week?
I was not ready last week to put it on that list, and we were still trying to determine how we wanted to develop the responsibilities of the position is really the reason why. So.
And then the second question I had is, and this will be a reoccurring question down the road for today. Last week we let go several employees, and this week it looks like we're giving a raise to maybe another employee by reclassifying.
This is actually a vacant position. It's a vacant position due to resignations from that we experienced during early retirement in 2012, as well as the resignation of the person who was actually in the nurse informaticist position this summer. And so it does become an open position. And so if there are folks who are part of that layoff process who are eligible, then they would work through county HR to determine if they are capable of being in this position.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a question?
No.
Commissioner Archer? Move approval of the request. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item F2, consider approval to advertise and fill an administration team leader position and any subsequent positions that become vacant as a result of filling this position at a total annual cost, including benefits, of $53,577.
Commissioners, this position, as noted in the memo, is coming before you. The person who was in this position retired, so we're asking to fill this position. The responsibilities primarily are providing significant administrative support to the directors of the health agency and our management team. They oversee our maintenance team, They also coordinate all of our communication with the commissioners as well as the county counselor's office. And then they really are kind of the gateway to our organization, and that's probably one of the most common voices that they hear, whether they call or they come into our facility. And that person is really directing the individuals that we have contact with to the most appropriate resource within our facility. And so I'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you, Alice.
And I would just add to Commissioner Cook that, you know, in the event that there are folks who are part of that layoff process, this would be a position that could be considered as well.
Move to approve.
There's a motion to approve by Commissioner Cook,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item F3, consider request for out-of-state travel for a member of management to attend the Survive and Thrive closing workshop.
Morning, Commissioners. Allison Alejos, Health Agency. The request that I'm bringing forward today has to do with the final closing workshop for the Survive and Thrive program that is being attended by one of the management team at in the local health department. This is the final out-of-state travel related to this particular coursework.
And there is no cost to the county?
Absolutely none.
I'll move approval of the request.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
And F4, consider authorization and execution of contract C 531-2013, memorandum of agreement and data use license with KDHE for the fetal infant mortality review project.
This is an actual agreement that we have to have in place with Kansas Department of Health and Environment to do our work with the fetal infant mortality review. By statute, we are able to access birth and death certificates if we meet the requirements by the Institutional Review Board, which we have. And so this is one of the steps we need in order to move that project forward.
Thank you. Questions on this?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Cook,
Second.
second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Allison.
Item G, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider approval of request to fill a vacant position of a fleet services supervisor at an annual cost of $48,996, including benefits.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Knight, Parks and Recreation. As you'll recall, last week, the County Commission made some reclassifications, reorganizations. This position was part of those changes. And what we're asking today is to open and fill this position. There was discussion in staff whether or not we needed a fleet services supervisor or an informaticist, and we chose to go down the road of a fleet services supervisor. Learned a new word today. Thought I'd try to work it into my presentation. To also clarify some of the language that's in here, the it says the fiscal impact is $13,153. That's the difference between the wages of a fleet services supervisor and the vacant recreation position that got reclassified from. What I'm asking for today is to open and fill this position. By county rules, we open it in-house first. If we don't find a suitable candidate, we open it outside. But the reason that this reorganization took place was we thought it would be better use of staff and personnel than to have the fleet services separated between golf and parks. This brings it all together into one area. Be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you, John. Are there questions? Or a motion?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve by Commissioner Archer,
Second.
second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item G2, consider approval to pay invoice for use of the Dover Community Center for programming, day camp, and special events in an amount of $2,400.
Commissioners, the Recreation Division, specifically the southwest section of the Recreation Division, Olivia Mayer and her troops down at the Paris Community Center, work with Dover. They rent the community center out there and hold programs down there. The cost is $2,400 a year, and we produce revenues in and around $9,000 a year from all of those programs. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you, John. Are there
Motion to
questions?
approve.
There's a motion to approve by Commissioner Archer,
Second.
second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item G3, consider change order number 2 to contract C26-2013 with Architect 1 for construction of the Garden Pagoda with a reduction in the final contract amount from $102,631 to $101,992.55.
Commissioners, Terry Bertles and the staff who worked on the construction with Architect 1 of the pagoda out at Lake Shawnee met with the contractor, reviewed all the amounts and the amount of work that they performed, and once we got through that process, a net change downward in the contract price that was called for. That's what you have in front of you this morning.
This is final.
Final.
Move approval of the request. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item G4, update, project update on long-range strategic master plan.
Commissioners, this morning I have with me Leon Younger, who's with Pros Consulting. If you recall, he's been here before in front of the commission, but he's been doing a lot of work in our community, him and his company, with the master plan for Parks and Recreation. I'd like to remind you in the audience that the cost of this master plan, no mill levy tax dollars were going to. It was paid partially by Building Maintenance Fund, which is funded through user fees, and also the Shawnee County Parks and Rec Foundation paid for about 55% of it, and that's all private dollars. That's how this process is being paid for. But in that process, the final product that we get will probably more than pay for itself in efficiencies, new revenue sources, those type of things. Where we're at now is Leon wanted to present a kind of a midpoint finding of some of the stuff that he found today. He's here today, and he has a small presentation for you.
Morning, Commissioners. Leon Younger with Pros Consulting. Just kind of wanted to give you a highlight of where we've been and what we're up to and what our next moves are. And part of that commitment was when I was here the last time to kind of give you annual updates. Today I'm not making any recommendations, I'm just giving you information, okay? So to start with, just kind of demographic findings. These are highlights, trends kind of in the Shawnee County, Topeka area. Some information on our public input findings, kind of a benchmark assessment of what other communities of similar size are doing and how we look at that, especially city-county combined systems. An update on our program assessment, a facility standards, and next steps. Just to start with, we broke the county up into 4 quadrants, and the reason why we're doing that is because we eventually want to establish level of service standards for the system, but also for what the service standards for parks and amenities for each quadrant is, because it's very apparent when we have dealt with in your communication with the community how people view your county. They kind of view it by quadrants, and they talk in that language as well in terms of, even though we're looking at it as a system, people still, we want to look at the fairness and equity as we approach the services that are provided here in the county. So we broke the population trends, the current population at 180,000. Quadrant 1, I'll just go back, quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. Quadrant 1 has the smallest population but the fastest growth rate. 2 is largest population but the slowest growth rate. 3 and 4 are moderate but short of the national average growth rate. Kind of age segments, medium age is 40 plus, so the quadrant 1 is older. Quadrant 2 is 35, quadrant 3 is 41 average, quadrant 4 is 36, overall 38, which is a little bit above the national average. And you're going to see a continued older trend as an aging trend here in the county. Just some demographic. Quad 1 is basically almost 90% white. There's the least amount of diversity. Quad 2 is 75% white. 86% is in quadrant 3, and quadrant 4 is 75. 2 and 4 projected to see the largest minority population increase, which really we need to address in our program services and way parks are designed. Just household characteristics in terms of income levels fall below state and national averages here in the county, but their steady growth is projected in quadrant 1. The least wealthy is projected in 2, as lagging behind the other 3 quadrants. Most wealthy is in quadrant 3, and a steady growth projected in income in quadrant 4. So we did a lot of work on national local trends, but just these are kind of highlights. What's in yellow is really a level that indicates a decrease in usage. And this kind of follows a national average in relationship to baseball, basketball. These are fall-off rates. And so all programs go through some level of the life cycle, and the important element is recognizing the life cycle and when to change with it. But areas that are going to continue to grow are in the green, which basically are sports that are on a national level, like lacrosse continues to grow, soccer, indoor soccer continues to grow, softball, fast pitch is on a growth level. You can kind of see, and then how do those play out in the services and facilities that are here in the Topeka-Shawnee County area. What we do look at is we kind of look at a benchmark of 100%, and you can see here in Shawnee County, you're close to 100% in several areas, especially like in basketball, a little bit below national rates, of football a little lower, softball. You can see kind of where those fall in relationship to participation. And these participation rates are done on 3 levels. One is you buy the information from SMG, which is a national recreation trend assessment group. There also is outdoor recreation trends, information and data, and plus National Recreation and Park Association data. But where you're ahead is kind of a little bit ahead in swimming and walking, and so just participating. And the reason why we want to look at this, especially in terms of when you look to update facilities or improve or add amenities, where does it fall and how does the city-county work collectively together and support those services? We had over 200 people we interviewed in our focus group meetings. We had great participation. People showed up and had a lot to say. I also appreciate your time that you gave me and when I had a chance to visit with you as well. So just come to some of the strengths of the department overall. The department is well liked and valued by residents. People appreciate what is going on here in the city and the county in relationship to where Parks and Recreation falls. Parks and Recreation are well maintained and managed. People's perception is they feel like that there's a good effort to maintain what you do own. You know, your 2 signature parks at Gage Park and Lake Shawnee are gems of the system. They really, really hold the system together, and people refer to them as the real jewels of the system, and they are. And they're really great too, a great urban park and a great regional park. The trail system is valued. People are consistently wanting more expansion, and that you're going to see that show up on the survey as well, that people's number 1 amenities are going to be more and more trails because people are so focused on wellness and fitness and access, and that's a way people want to really use your community. Golf courses are attractive and draw users from outside the county. You have state-of-the-art sports facilities, some of the best sports facilities in the country. And then numerous partnerships, especially with the foundation. People see that as a strength. Perceptions of what need improvement, marketing. Monies is missing opportunities to increase participation and generate operating revenue. And it was pretty loud and clear. People really like to see a greater, one of the things you'll find is in the survey, one of the reasons why people don't participate is they don't know what you offer, they don't know how to access you. And that's an opportunity that really could help offset your operating budgets. Facility updates are needed in some place, and you'll see that through this process. Improvement in connectivity of trails, more balanced distribution of parks, especially in the Southwest. You're going to see a lot of discussions show up there. Uniform maintenance standards are needed across the system. More high-quality athletic fields in certain parts of town, and security features, especially more personnel in certain areas of the city in relationship to parks. What key outcomes would people like to see? Establish an identity for the department that's really branded, because people are still getting used to between city and county and how that really is unfolding. Attainable goals and metrics that you all can really latch onto and demonstrate, kind of moving from an effort-based culture to an outcome-based culture, and really demonstrating the outcomes that this department is delivering, especially economic outcomes, because there's a certain group of people that still consider and see this department as a spend department, not as an earn department. And I think over the period of time, really focusing on its economic impact to livability and getting people to live here, as well as what it does for property values and all the other elements that are associated with it, is something that people are interested in and would like to see the department move forward. That this process have an objective evaluation of the system, the inventory of the assets and the level of service are provided, which we will be doing. Identify the core competencies of the organization, analysis of the population and participation trends, guidance in developing future facilities and programs, examine the competition and partnership possibilities, and then strategic marketing guidance. Other key program services that need to be addressed, your public, they'd like to see offer a wider range of programs overall. You have like about 10 core program areas, but there's 3 or 4 you could add that would really add value. But again, those are, again, dollars, and it requires money to do these things. Currently, sports programming is the dominant, how people see you as the most important core service. More adaptive programs people would like to see, especially as people get older. The ability to serve people with disabilities is something that people desire, and they really would love to see the department move more in that direction. A centralized youth sports association that really brings all the youth sports agencies collectively together to basically work, so they're not in competition, but they work collectively with the agency. More health and wellness and fitness program, especially in your recreation facilities, and more educational programming through partnerships with schools and libraries. Facilities and amenities that people think are most needed is the west and southwest parts of the county feel unserved. New facilities in other rural areas of the county, more updated recreation and fitness facilities, and a higher demand for aquatic facilities. Even though you've made some major improvements in aquatics, there's still a recognition that some areas feel that their aquatic facilities are outdated and need updated. And then, again, people are really driven by competition here, so sports facilities to host more tournaments, especially in sports tournaments in basketball. Areas where operational and maintenance issues need to be addressed is, again, consistency in how parks are maintained and facilities are maintained, where equipment is located. Conduct and complete inventory, which we've done. We've inventoried every park and assessment of every park in the system. And so we're able to determine where those assets are and what assets to keep or update or change out or remove. Because all systems maintain things that nobody uses. And the intent is where should we look at to remove those things that don't add any value, and they also take dollars away from the system. Increase security and improve campground reservation systems. Some people are frustrated by the way the reservation system works. What areas need more focus? Trails, additional amenities along trails such as restrooms and benches, opportunities to develop along the river, because people feel like the river is a real asset that hasn't really ever been captured, and it's something that would add value to living here. Create Shawnee County as a destination. You're a capital city. How can the park system and all the other attractions work collectively together to create this as a destination city, not just for sports tourism, but for other amenities that are here, and then eliminate excess parks that are underused and run down that don't have value to the overall system. Is the department adequately funded? Most of the people feel it's not adequately funded, but they do feel the department does well with what they have. They feel like we ought to have a solid financial plan and focus on generating revenue with more high-end sports facilities and develop the department as a tool for economic growth. What else would you like to say? These come out of the focus group meeting. Consolidation is seen in a step in the right direction. They'd like to reach out to more people, both inside and outside the county. More privatization of certain functions within the department that they feel might operate more efficiently. Question is the system too large? Are we overextended? You'll see that you probably are overextended. You got more on your plate than you really can manage for the money you have. And establish objective criteria to ensure effective implementation of the plan. So that's what people also said that they'd like to see. Now this benchmark assessment, I'll just start with that. It provides insight, but it's not intended to be a direct comparison, because the way people count and the way they look at things, you really have to put a recognition on it. But we wanted, it was part of our scope, was to compare capital cities that are in the United States that have also city-county combined systems, which there's not a lot in your size of range. The larger the cities, I'll use San Francisco, Indianapolis, San Antonio. The larger the cities that are city-county combined are more in the 800, 900,000 range, million people. where you're not having a lot of city-county combined at the level, but people recognize that, and we have found a couple that fit into the, what I would call the 170 to 220,000 range of population. And so we really kind of looked at population, Summerside Park System, state capitals, combined city-county, and whether it's CAPA, you're not CAPA accredited, but I think CAPA accredited demonstrates a certain level of management that's across the system that really demonstrates a level of efficiency and productivity that is established by the National Recreation Park Association, but it's something that John's interested in. So these were the areas. We looked at Augusta, Georgia, which was a city-county combined, Des Moines, Little Rock, Richmond, Salt Lake City, Shawnee County, Springfield, Greene County, city-county combined, Tacoma, and Tallahassee. And just so you know, the reason why we looked at these, because I've been involved with this, we worked in Tallahassee, we did Tacoma's plan. We have worked in Salt Lake City, we did Richmond's plan, I did Little Rock's plan, and and we have worked in Des Moines, but not in Augusta. Just, I wanted to, because the familiarity with the system. Just again, square miles, you can see that you're the second and largest population in terms of square miles being served. Current populations are 182, the highest is 277, but you can see we're in the range population-wise, but population per square mile is 321, so you can see you rank second in terms of the amount of space and population that you're covering. Shawnee County ranks second in terms of total number of parks. So you have 132 parks, so you have about 2,600 acres. Of those, almost 97% of those acres are developed. You'll see a lot of other systems don't have nearly the amount of parks developed, okay? In most systems that are city-county systems, they're usually in the 60 to 70% actually developed, so they have a lot of areas that are left as a natural state or just pure open space. So when you look at the acres per thousand, 14.8 acres, and that's right at a Midwest average. Across the Midwest, which includes Kansas, Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, it's in the typical range is around 15 acres per thousand. So you're right at that range in relationship to acres per thousand. But you can see the other groups that are here. Salt Lake is about 11. You can look at Richmond, 13. You kind of see where people are, but again, it's where people have put priorities on their park system. Staffing levels, you're at 0.6 per thousand. FTE per developed acre is 0.4. So you're at in terms of the bottom of staffing levels per 1,000 population in relationship to your staffing and what level of developed acres that you have. So in terms of what you're trying to maintain with the staff you have, we're at the very lower levels. And I'm just bringing that forward because it's always important to recognize how staffing impacts the impact of your services. Ranked second lowest in terms of total operating budget, 13.6 per capita expenses at 76. Now this isn't all taxes because you've got a certain amount of revenue dollars that are associated with it, about 5.5 million. But in the intent of it, you can see where you actually stand in terms of expenses. So it's about $35 per taxpayer is what they're investing in the system right now. But you can see where you guys fall in relationship that in terms of investment, wherever it's coming from, whether it's tax dollars or whether it's just in these comparable counties. Sources of operating funds, and we just put it up here because it's important that we kind of look at, how much comes from the general fund, fees and charges. Des Moines operates really closely to what you do. They run everything through their general fund process. You'll see here that you do too. And in a lot of other areas, they really break out their funding sources into options. And I know this is going to be something we want to discuss with you all, is whether you want to open up options for more enterprise type of funding or ways to use revolving funds to create revenue, instead of trying to balance it all off against the general fund, which is something we need to have further discussion about in relationship to services that are being provided. Cost recovery levels right now, in terms of you're about $5 million in your total operating, so about 40% per income per person. It's about $27 per capita. and total cost recovery about 33%. I really see this as a major upside if you want to look at that in the future. It's just really how do you want to approach it? Because you have a lot of world-class facilities. You also have some really great attractions. It's really how do you energize parks through programs, and how do we collectively maximize their usage? And it's all about productivity, and it's all about how quickly you can integrate your system in terms of getting people to spend money at your sites and on your programs. So we have a lot of upside here regarding that. Just cost recovery goals. Right now you've got about 10% from park services, about half through recreation services, nearly 100% from golf. And you can see how other places kind of approach this. And the reason why we look at it, it's all about a philosophy, it's about approach, it's a policy issue that we need to address in this plan as we move forward. Just capital expenses, you can see $1.40 per capita. I know that you have really gone through some tough times here in terms of spending money for capital, but you've got a lot of assets. And when you have as much land and as many amenities you have, they all have a life cycle. And those life cycles go through it, and they wear out when you put as much pressure on these facilities as you do with your usage here. So it's important to recognize how we're going to address capital in the future, and where do you want to protect the assets you already own. And so that's going to be an important discussion down the road with you in the future. Just sources of capital, I just put these up here to give you just perspective. Most of the capital dollars you're getting is from your user fees, but other people have looked at other ways to fund their system, and we need to explore whether any of these have any value to the county or not in the future. And I'll be bringing several recommendations to you regarding that. In terms of square footage per capita, we're about 99 square feet per capita. We will be including what elements of schools you actually use in relationship to accessing in the public realm. Typically, we see about 1.5 square feet per population is what we normally see. But again, you're seeing some spaces, some areas are a little stronger than others. But we do want to look at it because of the way the Midwest and winter here, our winters can be awful long at time, and people do want to go indoors. Just some supporting plans, just what other people are using. Obviously, you have a program plan, you've got a trails plan. We're building the Parks and Open Space plan. You got various neighborhood plans. But everybody kind of works these plans jointly together. In terms of program services, overall the citizens really value programs. You have really strong support for your programs here. People appreciate it. You have a good volunteer corps. Last year, 1,000 hours in 2012. One of the things we're seeing across the country is that people are actually budgeting for volunteer hours as part of their budget. And so when they turn in their budget, not only are they figuring out how many hours of staff time, but they're also figuring how many hours of volunteer time, because it's kind of a new workforce that people are really looking to. You have good partnerships in place, and it's growing. More health and wellness programs where people are really looking for. A wider range of programs desired. Additional coverage on the west and southwest side of town, and include more marketing of programs and getting people to understand what is available to them and how to access it. These are your core programs right now that you are into. Obviously, you could expand those, and I think that's what some of the folks are looking for, but you've got to maintain what we already have now and what we can maximize in terms of these as our starting point. Just in terms of program life cycles, you got about 13% of your programs are in our introduction stage, about 25% are in their growth stage, of about 47% are where they're pretty flat. They're meeting their minimum, but they're not necessarily going down, but they're not like really growing fast. And then you have about 20% either saturated and decline. So working with Randy, we'll be looking at these kind of programs and seeing how can we flip these programs and make them stronger and move them up in here, because that's where all your energy comes from. When they get in here, you actually spend more on a cost per person basis than if you do if we spend it and energize it there. Just their cost recovery levels in different parts of the city and county. You can see cost recovery levels vary by different parts of the community just based on wealth and available money, and it's going to vary by program. Part of our effort here is to work with you on determining what is a core essential service, important and value-added service, and then classifying every program in your system, and then create a cost recovery goal that's associated with you all will honor, and then it really becomes the staff's responsibility to get you there. So that will be part of our recommendations. Just this is the criteria I talk about. Core programs are services that you must provide, and it meets the mission and the statutory obligations of the city, county. Programs that are important have a public good and a private good, and value-added programs are where they're all private good. Okay, and so they usually cover 100% of the cost of their program. In terms of program delivery, continue or expand the use of pricing strategies, and I think the staff really recognizes that they're moving in that direction and the recognition to do it. More performance measures need to be looked at in terms of customer retention, program participation by age group, type and location, and how much of the market you control. If you can control more than 20% of the market, you can actually dictate how the market actually works and your relationship to it. And then really looking at defining outcomes, understanding your costs, both direct and indirect costs, which there's a good understanding of direct costs, not necessarily indirect costs within the system, and establishing really strong marketing and pricing principles in the delivery of their program services. And then we just kind of create a chart that really follows this process so that everybody is consistent across the board is what we'll be looking at. In terms of facility assessment, there were 31 parks at various service levels that we really honed in on. Now, you have a lot of parks that are just spaces with nothing in them. But we looked at regional parks, which really, like Gates Park and Lake Shawnee, are both well-maintained and serve as really the jewels of the system. The strengths, both Gage and Lake Shawnee, provide a variety of recreation programming opportunities not found in many regional park systems, and that the regional park service the full Shawnee County population. The opportunities are master plans could be developed on the western edge of Gage Park and develop a master plan study for Dornwood, which really needs to be done. A loop trail networking system needs to be looked at in Gage, and an additional dog park is needed in the southwest county, part of the county. Just in the community parks, pretty much in good, I think you do a good job with community parks. The strengths are a variety of amenities beyond that typically provided in a neighborhood park. Neighborhood parks are built around a 1 hour experience. Community parks are 2 to 3 hour experiences. Regional parks are all day experience. And much more connected, the community parks are more connected to the community centers. There's some opportunities should be given to add additional newer recreational amenities to satisfy the trends in the marketplace. Neighborhood parks vary from park to park in terms of greatest need for attention and maintenance is really at the neighborhood park level. I'd say that in terms of the maintenance, that's the weakness of the system, is neighborhood parks aren't nearly as maintained as well as the community parks or your regional parks. But you do have obviously some good spaces where they're located, the number of parks and the distribution. One point is just trying to get the playground equipment, and needs to be your playground equipment is really outdated. A lot of the parks equipment is outdated. Special use parks are newer and have been maintained. These are your trails, your sports complexes, your major attractions. You know, these are both used for active and passive use, and improvements in clubhouse facilities and cart paths on the golf courses need to be considered, and update landscape trees at Forbes Golf Course. Just the trails, you can see these are your trail systems. The intent is how do we create, and the whole idea of trails is to create spines. You've kind of got a spine working here, you've got a nice loop trail here, but how do we connect these neighborhoods to these spines? And that becomes the real strategy in how these get created. Or how can we link parks where these three parks are all tied together like this through a loop trail system. So we'll be bringing forward some recommendations about how to look at the trails, obviously to link into what you've already discussed, but ways to make it stronger and better. And then provide trail connection between the Deer Creek, Shawnee Lake, and Landon trails. Provide connection based on the trails master plan, especially as a regional trail system, and then provide additional trails within existing parks. Loop trails are very popular, and people love those because they become social trails and they're exercise trails as well. Improvements that we need to look at is playgrounds resurfacing, replace old interior play elements, update the elements geared to various age groups, consolidate playground equipment. See, this is where you're putting, each one of these are separate. Today, they're all in clusters. They're really tied down. It's just an older design, so those nice principles are there. Look at splash pads where you might take out, or look at where you can't put a pool in, but splash pads are very popular. And then look at updating parking lots and court resurfacing in some areas of the park, and then ADA renovations. So our next steps, basically, the survey is completed. They'll have the final results in the next 2 weeks. We were hoping to have them ready for today's meeting, but we don't. But I want to bring forward the survey because we had really good response from the survey, a much better response than what the survey company had anticipated. We need to finalize the standards. We're starting our public forums today, next Monday and Tuesday. That says Tuesday and Wednesday, but it's Monday and Tuesday next week. And then we want to have a work session with you, basically on agreeing to the key issues, looking at what our recommendations are going to be, and acting on those recommendations so we can actually build a plan. That's our next step with you.
Okay. All right. Very good. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Archer?
Thank you. That's a lot of information. Is there any way we can have that put on our website?
Yeah, I'll give it to John.
Let's do that, and maybe Pat Oplander can fix it to where the next few weeks or month or so, that when you go on our website, this is the first thing you see. Because I'd like to review it again. I know I'm going to have a number of questions.
Sure.
But there's a lot of information, and I think it's important that people have access to that information as we move forward. So if you can do
Yeah,
that,
and
I
actually
would
these
appreciate
pieces, these are, when we put these together, these are summaries of pieces, but we can send you the individual pieces. And I really wanted, I was telling John this morning, I want to get all the individual pieces out before I meet with you as a whole, so that you are all informed that you have, because these are a series of documents that roll up into the overall plan. So we actually have the meeting with you, you're well informed, because I just gave you kind of the Reader's Digest element here.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Leah.
And you will be at all the public forums, correct?
Yeah, well, our team will. I'm going to be here today. We're
Okay.
doing the one, our Confluence, who did all the public assessments of all the parks, they're doing the 2 next week.
Great. Okay. All right.
Madam
And
Chair.
we might want to make sure that those are on our website pretty front and center as well. Commissioner Cook?
I would echo that, Commissioner Archer's comments. This was a wealth of information given to us in a very short period of time, kind of hitting information overload. And it's going to take a moment to digest. But before we let you go, can you speak for a moment about the regional parks versus the neighborhood parks? Are we seeing a trend towards more complexes like we would see at Lake Shawnee with the baseball complexes? Are we going more towards the smaller, 1 hour, 2 hour interaction parks?
Well, the smaller the parks, the more it costs you to operate. It just is. And the movement in this country is to be more community and regional based and tie it together with trails. Of course, a lot of communities, the developers put in their own neighborhood parks as part of it. But the intent of neighborhood parks is, unless they're really designed with enough amenities, they're usually, the participation levels are pretty low because they're not large enough to really create enough energy or enough age segments being served. And they typically don't have parking, they typically don't have lighting, they don't have restrooms, and so consequently they're limited. But people like them because it adds value. You can take your kids across the street or 2 blocks down and they still have a playground. But in terms of actual productivity and the cost per experience is a lot higher in a neighborhood park than it is a community park.
And so through the master plan, at the end result, would you anticipate having recommendations for Shawnee County over the next 10 years as to where we should be maybe investing some of our dollars into these smaller areas or the larger areas or somewhere in between?
Yes, I will. We'll have a capital improvement plan for you. Will be very specific.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leon.
Okay,
Look
thanks.
forward to continuing to work with you.
I would just, to end this item, I'd just like to reiterate again that we are having 3 public forums. One today at 1 o'clock at the Crestview Community Center, one on Monday at the Big Gage Shelter in Gage Park at 7 o'clock in the evening, and another one the next night on Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock at the Bettis Complex out at 29th at Croco at Lake Shawnee. Please come out and have your input into this plan.
Sure. Great. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item H, corrections. Number 1, consider approval to award bid to Mid-America Government Supply for purchase and installation of replacement dental x-ray equipment at a cost of $14,590.
I don't have a presentation. Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Department of Corrections. Back in August of this year, the Commission approved us to go out through the RFP process to look at replacement of a X-ray machine that serves the Department of Corrections. The current one that we have has been there since the beginning in 1998. It's well outlived its lifespan. And also when KDHE came in and did their evaluation, they were finding that it's not meeting the specifications, the regulations for the equipment, and also because of the age of it, we did go out and look to see if we could buy parts, and that those parts are no longer available. We did estimate that cost being close to $20,000, and after a bid process, we had 5 people or 5 companies that bid, and we did take the lowest, was Mid-America Government Supply, which they were most responsible. They also provided us with the technology that will be more fiscally responsible, that we, instead of when somebody has to go out for anything else outside what we can provide, we now can get those photographs, x-rays, or whatever it's called, to the hospitals or the doctor's office without having to take new images.
Okay.
That's right. So
Good.
I'd be happy to answer any question you have.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions?
And it is much cheaper to do things on site than it is
Right.
taking them out.
Right.
And,
Yes, Commissioner Archer.
Madam Chair, I was just interested, are these bids for comparable equipment? Because, I mean, some of them
Yes.
went up to almost $23,000, and we're looking at $14,000. You know, I was just surprised at the range.
There are some people that are very
bids
proud of
that
their
we
equipment, but
Okay.
we did put out very specific, meeting with KDHE
Okay.
agency and to meet our standards for accreditation, but also nothing that's the most elaborate system out there, but what met our needs. And yes, there was quite disparity when we did see that.
I was really surprised, but this does meet the needs that we're
Absolutely,
gonna
yes.
have. Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve by Commissioner Archer,
Second.
second by Commissioner Cook. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item H2, consider authorization and execution of contract C 532-2013 with McElroy's for the replacement of the rooftop HVAC units on the Adult Detention Center addition and the Juvenile Detention Center at a cost of $234,765, which includes extended warranties.
Good morning again, Brian Cole, Department of Corrections. Back in May, I believe it was May, that we were given the authority, no, September, excuse me, to go out and look at the replacement of 2 of our HVAC units. We did have on our capital improvement plan that was submitted over for 5 years that we were going to replace 6. We found out, looking at those who what did and what didn't need to be replaced, we do know that 2 at the youth center do. Again, these have outlived their lifespan. And one of them is even smaller than what they should be, so it's putting out much more energy into the gym area, which is not cost effective, and we're confident that with the replacement of these, that will be more energy efficient to the department. I did meet with Betty on several occasions regarding for the capital improvement fund to be able to finance these, and it did come under what we thought, what 250 it did come under.
Very good. Thank you. Questions? I'll move approval of the request. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Item I, Public Works. Number 1, consider acceptance of easements and authorization to pay the agreed settlement amounts of $500 to Daniel and Jessica Rilling and $1,035 to Jeffrey A. and Kelly C. Winkle for the Southwest 29th Street, Southwest Indian Hills Road to Southwest Urish Road project.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Block with Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a Public Works item. As part of our capital improvements program, we have identified and are currently designing Southwest 29th Street between Urish and Indian Hills to convert that to a 3-lane urban section roadway. And as part of the process, we once we have design done and have identified what types of additional right-of-way we may need, we
then enter into an agreement with an appraisal company, Taggart and Associates, to go out and speak with landowners in which we need to acquire right of way. They have done so, and they do the appraisal, and then we make the offer, negotiate a settlement on the purchase of the right of way. And these two amounts for these individuals were what have been agreed to, and this is standard practice. It's our recommendation that this be approved. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thanks, Tom. Any questions? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
So motion by Commissioner Cook.
Second.
And second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item I2, consider approval of request to continue services with PSC Environmental Services LLC to provide for the collection, disposal, and technical assistance for household hazardous waste at the HHW facility, and a mobile collection event for 1 year at an estimated cost of $50,000 to $60,000.
Commissioners, Tom Block again, Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a solid waste item. The Shawnee County Solid Waste Department operates the household hazardous waste facility up near Northwest 46th Street, Peak Boulevard, just to the east of that intersection, in which we collect household hazardous waste free of charge for any resident in the county. In order to dispose of that material that we do collect, we have to have it properly disposed of. And back in 2010, the department went out for bids to different companies to provide that service of removing that material for us when we have it collected. PSC was the company that was awarded the bid back then, and as part of that bid, there was an option in there to renew that annually up to 3 years. We've been pleased with the service PSC's been providing us, and this would be the third and final year of renewal of that bid. Next year we will have to, or we will go out for bid and open it up again. But the amount of fees that we would pay to them is all dependent upon the amount of material that is brought to the facility. What I can say is, particularly since we started the curbside recycling, the amount of material that's being brought to the facility has really increased. We've had record numbers of people bringing material to the facility and record numbers of material actually disposed of. So that's a positive. That is a positive thing. So it's our recommendation that we renew this for 1 more year with PSC. And if there's any questions regarding this, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thanks, Tom.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve by Commissioner Archer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook.
I do
All
have
those
one more comment.
in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Yes.
There are no tax monies that are used to fund this again. Solid Waste Department, it's an enterprise fund, user fee based.
Yes.
So no tax monies used to fund this operation.
Good reminder. Thank you.
Item J, Commission, number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2013-177, allocating the 2014 Social Services Funds, Service Program for the Elderly Funds, and Special Alcohol Drug Program Funds.
And Commissioners, on this item, the resolution before you and what was published was a combination of social service agencies, programs for the elderly, and then special alcohol and drug programs. And after consultation with audit finance, with the counselor's office, and Jane, we all met, we feel like this would be better separated because into two separate resolutions. Social service agencies and for the elderly are from the general fund, and that is the line item that we discussed during budget.
Right.
And so those are general fund expenditures or allocations. And with alcohol and drug, that is a separate tax. And so there seems to be some confusion then when we just think it would be more simple going forward. And so the intent today would be to consider a resolution that only involves the social service agencies and the service programs for the elderly. And at a later time, I know Jared and several others are working on then the resolution for the special alcohol and drug resolution. So that that it would be the intent. There is some language change after it was reviewed by the audit finance and by the counselor. The amounts have not changed on those two areas. So, and hopefully, does everyone have, Madam Clerk, do you have? Okay, good. I'll give one to Alan, too. You've got one? Okay, everybody got covered. So just wanted to, in an attempt to clear that up for future years, that's what we would like to do. So if there's no objection going forward, then we will consider then only those two areas today. And so at this time, Nancy.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Nancy Johnson with Community Resources Council. And I have to tell you that I've been doing this for 6 years, and this was the most painful budget I have done so far. You gave us $100,000, or you took away $100,000 from social services. We had 19 social services, different programs apply for budgeting. We had a committee of 6 people, plus Rochelle Vega from the city, who joined us to look at all the grants that were submitted. These people were picked from Leadership Topeka with the help of Marcia Sheehan. And I'm going to go through quickly what a number of the programs were. We had a new teen center at Abbott with Boys and Girls Club. Breakthrough House had their clubhouse. Breakthrough House had the residential program, Catholic Charities, Emergencies Assistance, Community Action, Project Attention, Doorstep for emergency assistance. El Centro of Topeka, again a new program, Community Resource Program. Harvesters, the Back Snap Program. Kansas Legal, Protection Order Advocacy Project. Kansas Legal, Social Security Advocacy, Let's Help, Emergency Services. Marion Clinic, Dental Services, Midland Care, had case mental health expansion. Positive Connection had case management and emergency assistance. Positive Connection also had prevention, education, and testing. TDC, Topeka Day Care Center had Parent-Child Learning Center. TFI had Shawnee County Visitation, which is the Safe Visit Program. YWCA had the Center for Safety and Empowerment and also the Healthy Youth Program. Let's Help did not get considered because they did not turn their grant in on time. So we are making the suggestion of the 6 following agencies for a total of 141,191. Breakthrough House, they requested 17,712. We're recommending 17,000. Community Actions, they requested 72,000. We're recommending 58,000. Doorstep, 15,000. We're recommending 10,684. Kansas Legal Service, they requested 25,940. We are recommending 17,936. Marion Clinic for their dental services is 30,000. We're recommending 19,000. YWCA for the Center of Empowerment is 23,500, and we're recommending 19,311. From this, no new programs were considered at all, and Positive Connection was cut completely. And the rationale behind that was when the committee looked at the number of people that were being served, the other programs served more than Positive Connection was serving, and they knew that money had to be cut some way. So that's the recommendation on social services. I stand for questions, and I believe we have some people in the audience that would like to address it too.
Sure.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson, can you address what was the total amount that was requested by all
Yes.
the agencies or groups for the year 2014?
The total requested was $387,691.
So 387 was requested.
Right.
and to work with 141,000.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any one of those agencies for social service allocations, if you would want to speak at this time, you can sure come to the podium.
Good morning, Debbie Gilbo with Positive Connections. As Nancy said, our agency, I understand our agency was recommended to not be funded for 2014. In 2013, we've received approximately $30,000 from the county, and I understand that there was a cut to social service funding, and I understand that all of the social service agencies are experiencing those cuts. However, my understanding is that the reason that was given for the recommendation was that our population was too specific and too small. And I really kind of wanted to address that particular concern. Traditionally, what we do, in accordance with the National HIV and AIDS Strategy, to reach an AIDS-free generation, we're looking at early identification of HIV and care and treatment as two specific prevention strategies. Both of those strategies have been supported by Shawnee County in the past. The $8,000 that has been funded for our prevention services in the last few years addresses the need for early identification of HIV. We offer free HIV testing to anyone that feels they need to be tested. Our outreach efforts are aimed at high risk, what we consider high risk individuals, but we offer the testing free to anyone. Routine HIV testing is essential in the early identification of new infections and in the reduction of new infections. And I can give you a specific example of that. We had a young man that we tested last year, I think in November of last year, who tested negative at that time. In February, he came back and asked for an HIV test based on some symptoms that he was having and some information that he had gotten when we did his initial counseling testing. He tested positive at that time, and he had a viral load of 5.5 million copies of HIV in each milliliter of blood. That's extremely high. And it makes him extremely infectious to other people in our community if they were to come in contact with his blood or with other body fluids that carry HIV. This young man was uninsured, and without our services, without the HIV testing that we provide, his infection probably would not have been identified at that time as HIV. It could have resulted in him becoming very ill, but also resulted in him passing the virus to others. Once his status was known, we connected him to medical care. We educated him on how to avoid affecting others and on the importance of maintaining adherence to his medical regimen. I'm very proud to say that as of his most recent lab work, his viral load has reached 20, which is basically considered viral load suppression. So from 5.5 million copies of HIV in each milliliter of his blood 6 months ago, he now has effectively viral load suppression, and he has a 96% chance, less chance of infecting anybody else with HIV. So I think that pretty much is a very clear example of how our services on our testing side affect our community as a whole. 5 years ago, our prevention budget was $98,000. In 2013, our budget is not quite $70,000. And the loss of the $8,800 that you guys fund will result in about 100 people less being able to be tested, which of course results in less chance of early detection and the possibility of a higher transmission rate. It's true that we serve only HIV positive individuals in our case management program, but the service that we provide affects not only those individuals but our community. And it also addresses the other national HIV and AIDS strategy, which is treatment as prevention. The idea of treatment as prevention is that as an individual is engaged in care, his viral load goes down, such as what I just gave you the example of. And that a suppressed viral load makes it less likely that a person will reinfect or infect other people with the virus. 5 years ago, our medical case management program consisted of 2 full-time employees and a half-time employee. And we had a budget of $160,000, and we had a caseload of 113. So yes, it's not a very big number. I will tell you that as of the end of September, we had a caseload of 148 and 2 full-time case managers. We've had 8 new clients come in since the end of September into our case management program. We've effectively this year had basically 1 person a week come in for case management services. HIV is alive and well in our community. Individuals who are HIV positive must have a medical case manager to be able to access the Ryan White program, which is a federal program, and it's basically coverage for HIV care as a payer of last resort. If an individual is eligible for Medicaid or Medicare or private insurance, they must take those options. Ryan White will cover any excess that the insurance does not cover to help them maintain their medical care for HIV. Or if they're uninsured completely, Ryan White will cover the cost of their HIV care only. It doesn't cover the cost of any other services. Our case managers review a client's eligibility every 6 months to make sure that they are still eligible. We also have to have case consults with their physician every 6 months to make sure they're seeing the doctor as they should and taking their medications as they're supposed to. We also we're required to review the lab work with the clients and review medical adherence and educate them on how important it is to maintain their medical adherence. In 2011, we began tracking viral load numbers for our clients. At that time, 58% of our clients were considered virally suppressed, meaning that they didn't have a detectable amount of the virus in their bloodstream. As of the end of September, 65% of our clients are virally suppressed, which is pretty amazing, and it means that we are doing a very good job at keeping people healthy in our community and reducing the risk of transmitting that virus to others. Interruption of our services may result in people not being able to access care and result in viral loads increasing or making our clients less healthy. In the extreme, obviously, people can die or left untreated completely. HIV can become a public health issue in our community because lack of treatment leads to higher viral load, leads to higher risk of infection of others. With the adjustments that we've made in our budget over the last several years and with continually looking for more efficient ways to provide services, we've been able to reduce the cost of serving one HIV-positive individual for a year to under $1,000. That's less than the cost of 1 month of medication for them. So we're doing a lot with what we have and a lot with very little. The funding provided by the county for our medical case management program basically provides service to 22 individuals of the 148 that are currently, actually now it's 156 that are currently on our caseload. If we don't have this funding, it will effectively cause a cut in services, result in a cut in services, and possibly the creation of a waiting list for life-saving care. And I don't really know how to create a waiting list and how to determine who gets this care and who doesn't. I assure you that we are constantly looking at ways to diversify the clients we serve and the funding streams. To this end, we've recently become approved. We're recently approved as a certified application counselor designated organization, which lets us assist people enrolling in Affordable Care Act coverage. And we are looking into the possibility of becoming a 340B pharmacy provider, which will allow us to have a revenue stream coming in that we don't currently have. We're looking at other options as well to make us less dependent financially on city and county funds, but we're not there yet. So I would sincerely ask the commissioners, the commission, to reconsider the grant reviews committee's recommendations and continue some level of funding to us at this point in time. Our services are life-saving, and our services are very much a part of keeping our community strong and healthy. And I would entertain any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Debbie. Other questions? Commissioner Archer?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for coming this morning. Are there other places in the community that you can be tested?
There are other places that
Like
you
our
can
health
be
agency,
tested.
for example, the hospitals?
The health agency, I believe, does charge for HIV testing.
Okay.
We are the only place that offers it free of charge.
But I don't want people to be confused and think that there are not other places that they can be tested.
Yes.
If someone is concerned about their health and want to be tested, they can be tested in our health agency or in other facilities.
Yes,
I
yes.
just wanted to clarify that.
That's very true, yes.
Okay,
They can be
okay.
tested. There is a charge related to that. There is not any other place in our community that provides case management services and gets them connected to medical care.
Okay, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else for social services? Okay, Nancy, if you want to kind of review the service programs for the elderly.
You want to do elderly next? This has a cut of $80,000 this year. The requested funds were, let me get this correct. We broke off some from her already. Okay, the requested funds were $571,182. And we have an anomaly here with Auburn Senior Center. If you will remember last year, they failed to get their grant in on time, and you all granted them money from the general fund. They have come back and asked for money and have been funded at a lesser degree, but have been funded. The Catholic Charities for Friendly Visits, Community Action for Elderly Services, Community Resources Council, because we are the administrators for the elderly. We take minutes, send out minutes, plan all the grant reviews, plan all the site reviews, things like that. East Topeka Center for their center, Jayhawk Agency for the administration and match, Kansas Legal. For senior citizens, Let's Help, again, did not get the grant in on time, so it was another loss of $30,000 there. LULAC, Consolidated Senior Center, Meals on Wheels for both home delivery meals and friendship meals. Midland Care did not request anything this year. Pappin's Landing, Service for the Elderly. Rossville, Service for the Elderly. Silver Lake, again, their senior center. And Vallejo for the Senior Outreach Service, the SOS. And I'm sorry, they did not request anything this year at all. So what we are recommending is Auburn Senior Center. They requested $11,000. We're recommending $5,000. Catholic Charities requested $12,000. We're recommending $8,000. Community Action, $34,900. Community Resources, $18,000. East Topeka, $72,000, $67,000. Jayhawk, $50,000 to $46,000. Kansas Legal Services, $35,000 and $35,000. LULAC requested $55,000, and we recommending $50,000. Meals on Wheels for their home delivered meals, $163,000. We're recommending $153,000. Friendship Meals, $75,000 versus $70,000, and recommending $73,000. Pappin's Landing, $42,767, recommending $39,268. Rossville, $9,000, recommending $8,300. Silver Lake, $35,000, and recommending $35,15. No, cut it off. And I can't emphasize how important the elderly is, especially with the cuts that have been handed to the health department. And that these are some of our only real lifesavers for the seniors to get the assistance that they need. I stand for questions. And we may have some in the audience that may want to.
Are there any questions for Nancy at this time? Okay. Anyone wanting to comment on the allocations for the elderly? Sure.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I just want to, make a comment and thank you guys for making an effort to continue to fund senior services. I know we're all in a tough situation economically, I'm the board president of Topeka Lulac Senior Center, sorry. My name is Robert Soria. And down the future, looking down the road, I just hope you keep the senior centers in mind. Not only do we serve the elderly, but the very frail, the disabled, and the poor. And if we're looking to where we're going to spend government dollars, I mean, we're really reaching the nooks and crannies of our community, and really is a safety net, and I echo what Nancy says. So these senior services are important. And I know the mill levy's been raised, and I know money's being allocated in support of certain services. We just hope that in the next coming years in the future, you continue to keep senior services in mind. We want to be around to continue to serve the elderly and the very poor of those elderly, and get them access to health care, which is a big part of what Topeka Lulac Senior does. So anyway, with that, I just want to thank you for your consideration, and just keep us in mind in the future as well.
Sure. Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioners, are there any further questions or action on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
That's fine. Commissioner Archer made a motion to adopt the resolution.
I will second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. I'm going to explain my vote before I vote. During the budget process, I did not vote in favor of this line item. And so therefore, I'm going to be consistent in my vote and not vote for these allocations. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Commissioner Bueller,
yes.
before we depart, as explanation as well, I did not vote for the budget due to the cuts that were made, and asking that there be other cuts that would be considered instead of cutting these. But even still, I think this is the very least that we can do as a county to take care of those who cannot. And so that is why I'm voting in favor of this. Even though it only reaches 36% of what was requested for the social service agencies, I'm asking that it be approved.
And I understand your reasoning as well. I was not on the prevailing side, so therefore I could not bring up additional monies for those. So, okay, I think we understand each other. Any further comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. No.
May I make one recommendation? Sorry.
Motion carries 2-1. Commissioner
I'm
Bueller
so sorry.
dissenting. No, that's okay. Go ahead, Nancy.
I would make the recommendation for next year that you have the social services, elderly, park and rec, and health department all work together when they're looking at their budgets to see where we can do some consolidation and do some partnership, so that maybe we can look at some of these senior centers that are particularly maybe looking at being closed, how they can be used for the different social services and things like that, so that we are indeed hitting what I'm most concerned about are our most vulnerable citizens, and that's the children and the elderly. And what scares me is that we're very worried about the in-between, and our youth and our seniors are being left out. So I would strongly recommend that a committee be formed that looks at this with your county agencies that do this with the park and rec and with the health, and then with your social services and elderly.
Thank you, Nancy. Next item, please.
Item J2, consider a reappointment of Matt Fletcher to the Kansas Expo Center Advisory Board for a 3-year term as the at-large member.
I'll move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item J3, reflect that Commissioner Archer has appointed Jennifer Owen to a 3-year term beginning January 1, 2014 on the Kansas Expo Center Board.
Any comments?
Just briefly, I'm happy to appoint Jennifer Owen to the Expo Center Advisory Board. Jennifer is a young professional in Topeka. She works at the Chamber of Commerce and is the director of Fast Forward. And I think we need to involve young leaders and young professionals in our community more than we do. And I know when I go to the Expo Center board meetings and I look around and HR Cook is the youngest person there, that we definitely need some young blood in the organization. So I don't know if we need a motion to
No, we do
approve
not.
it
It's just
or what
so
we need to
noted.
do.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay. What was that, HR? Nothing. Next item,
Item
please.
5, administrative communications.
Kind of along that same line of thinking, just thanking all of those who serve on our boards. I mean, we
Yeah.
have a number of different appointments, and also I think Nancy left already, but those who volunteered to serve on the review of social service and aging,
It's a
that
tough
was
job.
not an easy
No,
task, and so we do sincerely appreciate the public participation on that and their willingness to volunteer, so. Tom?
Yes, Commissioners, Tom Black, Public Works and Solid Waste. I just wanted to let everyone know that tomorrow, November 15th, is National Recycling Day, or National Recycles Day. And for those of, as you all know, we implemented the curbside recycling this year. And I would just like to take this opportunity to encourage those that were a little hesitant about trying curbside recycling to maybe rethink that and try it, because I'll tell you that probably the most common comment I've received over the past year since we started this was how simple people have realized that it is to recycle. So something that you can do at very little effort, and it really does have a large impact on the community and the environment. So again, just want to encourage anyone to try it that hasn't tried it yet. I think they'll be very pleasantly surprised at how simple it is. So thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Anyone else with administrative communications? Okay. Oh,
HR Cook, the youngest person in the room? No.
No.
General Manager, Kansas Expo Center. Just a reminder that this weekend is the Blizzard Bash, the National Demolition Derby Championships. This is an event that we produced ourselves with a promoter in Nebraska. This is the 4th year. It has become probably, with the hotel rooms, the amount of spending that takes place with this group coming in, probably it'll move into number 3 as the county's economic impact event behind NHRA Drags and Kansas Kids Wrestling. So we'll have, there's about 1,500 hotel rooms that'll be booked. They do come in and spend the money, and most importantly, the Expo Center staff, SMG, has this year has found a way to produce a pay-per-view event for this event live for those that are not in attendance or not in this area. We're producing it in-house using Ustream. All the revenues come back to the Expo Center and the promoter of the event, and that is the first for our building and probably the first for SMG as a whole, being able to produce pay-per-view in-house.
interesting. Wow, great. And you have Disney on Ice coming.
Disney on Ice coming for those of you who would like a cleaner, clean air event. That's coming first week of
December.
December.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, HR. Anyone else? Next item.
Item 6, executive session.
Is there a need for executive session? There is no need. We are adjourned. Thanks.
Yeah.